All right, everybody, we got a Shimano 105 shifter. It's for a 10 speed. This particular shifter, I disassembled it because I had a bunch of cable wrapped up in the all of the mechanism. I tried to find a video on YouTube to help me put it back together, but I didn't find one, so I decided to make one myself. So this is, if you guys took this pin out and you gutted the parts out of here, this is pretty much what you got. And it's a lot of parts, kind of complex. It seems complex, but I spent a little time putting it together and practiced it and got the assembly technique put together. So I want to show you guys how to put it all back together. First things, you're going to need some tools. You need a flashlight. This one's a little overkill, but we use the big one because it has a lot of light. You're going to need a flat tip screwdriver, number 3 Allen wrench, some needle nose pliers, some chain lube, and a piece of thread. Okay, I'll tell you why the thread, where the thread comes into in a little bit. All right, so we practiced it 3 or 4 times. I'm not an expert at it, but I'm got pretty good at putting it together the first time. And the main thing is we got to take and we have to start with this piece right here. You have to make sure that there's a little copper washer and a little bitty splined washer. This washer will only go on one way, one direction, one way. Looks like that. It only goes on one way. That is very important that this piece is on there. Okay. What I did is I put a little grease on some of these parts. They're already pre-greased. Make it easier to make the video. We did that so that the gears will stay together and mated while it's on this spline. So, talking about the spline, we're going to hold this spline upwards. Hold it between your middle finger and your thumb like this. This is basically the way you need to clock it at all times. You need to see that hole right here, not this side. You need to see that side right there. This is the front. Okay? You're going to start assembling. We're going to take black gear. You'll notice that the black gear has a flat spot on it right here. We're going to, actually I'm overlooking one step, I'm sorry. Take this little washer right here. This little mechanism, it has a spot that has an indentation right here. That spot goes to the top. You see that real good? That goes to the top, not flat. Flat goes down, like so. Just clock it in the middle of this part right here, this latch for your cable. Just clock it approximately like that. It's not important that if it's wrong. Take your black gear. The flat spot goes approximately right in the same place. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this gear will only fit one way. It will not fit upside down. You cannot do it wrong. Take your silver gear. It almost looks identical, so put it right on top, just like that. Again, we put some grease on it to kind of make them stick like that. Otherwise, they'll fall off. It's easy to, when you're starting to put this thing back together, it's easy to get those to fall off. So the next thing is to make sure you have this little nylon bushing in that hole, just like that. The next piece you're going to need is this bushing. It goes in that nylon bushing, just like that. The next thing we're going to do is let's just lay that down to the side for right now, like that. And let's talk about some of these levers. These levers have bushings in them, and they all need to be assembled just like this. They will not mate if they're wrong. You have a chrome or a silver bushing, and you have 2 black ones. They have to be in this order, and they will go on the bottom, If you took one out, you could put it on the wrong side. Just set these up just like this. So for this particular lever, put the bushing on the top, just like that. The next bushing, put that bushing just like that with this arm hanging down. Another thing is, take this spring and make sure it will not come off. It has to be attached to this right here. If not, get your little needle nose pliers, bend it so that that spring will not fall off. It's important that it does not come off. Okay? So the third lever that we have, this is your ratchet. Okay, and this ratchet has a mechanism here that's going to attach to those gears. It has a spring. This spring needs to be, when it's assembled, this is the way you're probably going to see it right now. Just like this. That spring should be spring loaded like that. Take the spring off. Just simply take it with your fingernail and pop it off, and don't drop it. Just let it hang right there, just like so. Let it hang right there. Notice on the bottom of it has a groove right here. That groove is going to be attached to this piece right here. So that's what we're going to do right now. This is the next piece we're going to take care of. We're going to take this part, remembering to hold it and clock it like this. We're going to hold this part. It takes a little practice, but you can kind of lean this back. Just slot it in there. Sometimes I get it the first time, sometimes I don't. You can lift this up just a little bit and just slot it through there. Just like that. Okay? So you should have it like that. And now you can just kind of pivot it back. That's why we detach the spring, so that you can comfortably open that up. Okay? So now, this is what you should see. This is where you should be. With this bushing on the top, that bushing here, or this right here, just like that, okay? Now what we're going to do is we are going to take the part with our spring hanging off of it, and we're going to bring it and we're going to lay it right here. I want to make a special note. The second reason why we detached, you want to hold that for me? You have to make sure that this is back and this part is inside. You can kind of close that down and like so. Oh, I got a magnetic screwdriver. Hang on just a second. Anyway, it's important that this piece is inside there. It also helps you keep it clocked. So we're going to close that. Now, since that right there, this is what you should be seeing. Something like this right here. Now just take your pin and slide it up through the bottom. Make sure everything is kind of aligned up. Like that. Just hang it, just let it all right there and just kind of hold it. This is where we should be. Okay? Just like that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this lever here. I'm going to shine a light on it. And it is important to understand that this right here, this mechanism has to be spring loaded in the proper direction. This is the wrong way. It needs to be spring loaded. Pardon me. This is the right way. It needs to be spring loaded counterclockwise, looking at this side of it. Counterclockwise. So we're going to go back. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hold it like so. We're going to lift this back up. Remember holding it and clocking it this way. if you see that little groove right there, can you shine the light on that groove? This little groove right here, we want to line these two up here, and we want to bring the tooth of that little lever that you had in your hand, we want to put it right there, and we want to bring that tooth around to that opening right there, and we want to slide that down into that slot right there, and then we'll make sure the bushing centers it all. Okay, so it should be right there in the middle. You want to take a close up of that, Bob? Right there. Okay, can you see that? Good. Can you see it? All right, so this is what you have. Clocked here. This is approximately right here to your right. Your lever sticking up right here. If you're holding it like that, you're almost ready. All right, so now we're going to kind of just rotate and look down on the top of what you see. You're going to see a little hole right here. You're going to take this small spring here, and you're going to turn it to where that little sharp point is. You see that? And you're going to lay it right down inside that hole. Just like that. Just lay it there. And it'll stay on its own. Okay? And then you're going to kind of just gently pinch it. Now, if you notice, my little gear mechanism kind of came loose over here, so I'm going to look, make sure everything's attached again. Kind of got it like that. I'm just pinching everything together. Okay? Now I'm going to take the next spring. We're going to turn it over, and we are going to put that. We're going to do the same thing in that hole right there. I'm going to shove that right in there, just like that. Okay? Try to keep it centered and smash it with your finger, and then just rotate it just a little bit. Just turn it just a little bit counterclockwise, like that. Just try to take the slack out of it, just a little bit. Holding this spring, holding that spring. Now I'm going to get you to do something you probably won't feel comfortable doing. I want you to grab that pin and pull it out. Now you're ready to assemble it. This right here is your cage. This is the bottom, top, side. Hold it like this. This is the bottom. Where I told you to take up some of that slack in that spring, put it right there. Holding this, slide and wedge everything into that hole, like so. Trying to keep everything going straight in. Okay? Slide it all down. See it all start to go in there? Like so. Like so. Just like that. That's the top. The bottom's not quite there. It's coming. See that? The bottom? And what we're going to do is, just for safety, take the pin, slide it through there, and try to get all these little centers, the center lines together. This is what you should have. You should have this here. This should be still unlocked. That pin, remember the pin, that mechanism right here with that spring on it has to be behind this gate. Okay? Take the, just kind of keep that out of the way. Take that spring that we detached earlier and lock it. Now your spring should be locked on that little recess right there. Okay? Now, here's where the thread comes in. We're going to take this thread, we're just going to lay our mechanism back down right here. This is how I ended up figuring out how to do it. I took the thread, like so, fold it in half, wrap it around your finger, like so. Okay? You're going to use this to pull this other spring around and latch it. We found this to be the easiest way. You can do it if you want to use some needle nose pliers. We tried it. It just didn't work. It just didn't work for us. We tried everything. We found this to be the easiest. So you want to show that, you want to hold the light on it? So what I did, here's the top spring. It's just sitting there. Guys, see that? Can you see it? Mm-hmm. And this is where it latches. So grab it like that, keeping it aligned, pull it around just like that, and use your finger, kind of push it in there. See that? See that? Is it good? Mm-hmm. Real simple. The bottom spring, exact same thing. It is now all the way over here. Okay? We do the exact same thing. We're going to use our string. I'm going to grab it. And we're going to pull it all the way around, like so. And we are going to latch it. Make sure it's in the little slot. Okay? Now I've got string around my finger. Okay, so this is what you should have now. You should have something that looks like this, just like that. Spring attached, spring attached, spring attached, spring loose, loose. But make sure that spring is on there. You cannot put that spring on there if you assemble it into the lever. It's impossible. We've tried it. I mean, maybe unless you're gifted, I can't do it. So I've tried it too many times, it just doesn't work. Make sure that spring is laying there. And make sure that that spring, the opening is to the right so that it will latch into this hole right here. Is it too much glare? No? Right there. So now, this is where I always feel like it's the hardest part. Putting it all back inside this plastic mechanism. Notice inside the mechanism there is an aluminum nut right here. This pin on the bottom is going to go all the way through here. Look, show down there. So this pin is going to go through here. This right here is going to be here, centered into here, and the top of it is going to screw in this nut. Can you see the nut? Do not force or shove that pin into that nut. It will come out. It will come out through the top here. And there it is. Be gentle. Be gentle. And I'll explain that here in a minute. We took it out and we had a hard time putting it back in. So don't push on it. That nut will come out. Can you see it real good? Okay, here we go. All right, so for the assembly, you got your mechanism here. You should be clocked here to the, as you're sitting here like this. This mechanism, this is the back, and this is the front, directly in front right here. This is the front, back. We are going to press this straight in. It is tricky. You can kind of see how it fits in there, like this. It only fits one way, and it fits really tight. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull this lever down like so. We're going to pinch this mechanism and hold it tight, and we're going to pull that pin out. Be careful. You can disassemble this whole thing very easily. So kind of just put light pressure here, and we just lost our spring. I'm going to push that back in there. And this is doable, guys. It's not that difficult. It does take some patience. Okay, so I lost my spring. I'm gonna go back and put that back on real quick. Go ahead and pause it. All right, I got the spring back on and I made sure it latched. I don't think I had it latched good last time. Okay, at any rate, things are gonna happen as you go through this. Just don't panic. Just kind of hold the assembly like this, holding the barrel in, pull your pin out, pushing like this and holding it, push your lever down, and it only goes in one way, so you're gonna have to figure out how to do it on your own. Just shove it down in there the way it fits, like so. Okay? And lift this lever up. Let that one release inside. Okay, let me see what I'm doing here. Okay. Now what I did is I kind of cocked it a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of just shove this back out a little bit. And I want to straighten it out. So I got it cocked this way. I want to get the whole assembly, there it goes. Okay, I just rotated it with my fingers and it fits nicely back in there. Be careful not to shove too much, okay? Now our assembly's still together, but it's very fragile. Guys, if you mess around and get aggressive with it, it's all gonna pop. Take your pin, push it through, gently push it through. Do not shove that pin into that nut or you'll pop it out again, okay? We went through this and it's not fun. Oh, the pin fell out. Okay, we're gonna take this pin, Allen wrench, put it in there and lightly start screwing. While you're screwing it in, you'll look inside here. You'll notice that the nut or the screw will be to the right because it's under spring pressure here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna tilt the screw this way, okay? To line it up with the center. That's what I decided that was the best way to do. So we're gonna try to get everything lined up, get the pin going. Right now we're not centered. So I'm just trying to find the best way to get it in there. I'm gonna just shove some of these gears in a little bit, shove it up. Some of these center lines are probably not on there, so we're just gonna kind of just wiggle things around. Shove that in there just a little bit. This right here, these are spring loaded again, so you're gonna have to figure out how to wiggle this pin back into center line. There it goes. See that? And unfortunately, I popped out the nut. Okay? That's what it looks like. You don't want to do that. But I did, and maybe it's good that I did so that way I can show you how to fix it. So here's how we did. We took and we screwed. Just take this, and as you turn it, the threads are in the plastic. They're just on the side of the plastic, kind of under a little bit of pressure. Notice it unscrews a little bit. Unscrew it until the threads, the head of that screw, and you can barely see it. Make sure that it's right there flush. Can you see that? Can you see it, Bob? See it? Mm-hmm. I'm turning it. Put the nut back in there. Put it back into its little socket that it has. Turn it over. There it is. Put it into that little socket. And it takes a little bit of time and practice, but you can go ahead and get it started again. Now I have it back in the spot, and I'm going to try to turn it and start it. Okay, now it's coming up, so I'm going to try to put that in the center, right like that. Okay, so this may take a couple of minutes to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hold this down. I'm going to have my son hold this down with a screwdriver like that, right that, just like that. And I'm going to lightly, without cross-threading it, I'm going to try to get this thing started, and then it'll suck it all together. And then I'll show you what to do. So go ahead and pause it. All right, so we got the nut in. We had to play around with that, or excuse me, the screw. We had to play with the nut and the top, but it's all assembled. And the only thing that we don't have on here assembled is the spring here. So you just simply take the spring, where your needle nose pliers are going to come in, and attach it right there somewhere. There you go. I couldn't see the hole. So this is what you should see. Now, make sure that you double check that spring here. Make sure it's there. And then your assembly should look like this on the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to check and see if this thing will work. So I've got something wrong here. Okay, go ahead and pause it. All right, so I want to reiterate another thing. You cannot lock this down all the way tight. If you do, this mechanism will not rotate. I did it the last time too. Take it off and do 1/4 turn. Okay, and your mechanism will be loose. So now we should be able to rotate it. This is releasing. Should be 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually 9, I'm sorry. Your first one would be 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, that's all you have to do. Take your bike lube, put a couple of drops of oil in here, not too much, it'll collect a lot of dirt. I just put a little bit of oil in there, keep everything nice and shiny. Okay, put your cover back on it. It's right here. It goes, I believe it goes upside down like so. Like that. That there. It takes a little cross tip screwdriver, close that up. And there's some more parts right here. These are for the handle. You have to put this in here, otherwise it'll crush the plastic when you put it back on your handlebars. Put that on there. I thought I had it. I want to just put this on first, huh? This on first. Here. Oh. You can't put a round hole in a square peg. Yeah. Round and round right here. So, all right. Put that down in here. Like so. Mount it to your handlebars. And you got yourself an assembled Shimano 105 ST5800. Pretty simple, guys.